Got connection line center, interference, position, location of directions. So what's happening right now is it's still traveling on YouTube. My computer line center is still traveling locations. It's interesting because look, it's got positions of viewers and high center locations of followers in high figuration line system. It's pretty powerful stuff. The timeline is in position 6, 601, 602. It's traveling on my computer line center, but in position location of phone line system. So, wow. It's unbelievable what's happening right now. Morning. So I'm just going to channel off my YouTube line because there's a lot of misconnect. So much interruption line center. As soon as I went outside, traveling way too fast in high system. This usually happens in high time. Changing track locations. So levels of communication line center. How's everybody doing? Yeah, we're back. We're on the phone. All right, so I'm going to channel off the high calculation. All right, so just cross over. All right, so the future line connections, so levels. Charging mechanism, time switch, time travel, high center interference of direct locations, all right? Okay. Just bear with me, guys. Okay, just bear with me. All right. So as we get in position location, high level system here. All right, so let's try to even this out here. There we go. Okay, inner line its position of directions. Okay, so outline is way too much interference. It's got direction locations, half system. So in calculations, we start with this line connection. All levels division. Let's move this back. Okay. Just give me a minute here, guys. Just trying to set this up. Okay, so we got this line connection. All right. Point view taken, high interference of code signals. Communication here. Side channeling. Communication here. Communication here. 3 communication line streams. Correlation line interference location is all levels of 6. In high center located communication line centers of 12. Into high center line conditions all levels equals 18. And the center position location is a 24 clocking line center in a fluctuation line conditions. Okay. It's a 24 location. Okay. So this is where Airbender was talking about Trinity standing line centers of 4 equals 4. Okay, is high line center locations 8. 8 is the infinity, the high center interference. 4 atmosphere line center line direction locations. 4 weather communication stream interference. 4 direction locations is high lines. Okay, and 4 changes of its connection, right? Because you have 4 seasons, right? Summer, fall, winter, and spring. Now that communicates to its position of the timeline. So it's all about understanding how you get into positions levels of an infinity 8-line system. Okay? So coming into online in direction location, the coloration path, we're going to go into pink background line center. Now, going through coloration interference, it travels on so many level rotations. So we go into box line position location, 24 stays in high center locations. So we take on line center location into what? Another 24, okay, in position locations. Now that equal line center locations to what? 4 equals 8. Okay, so that's 4 position locations of direction. Now this is where it goes times pi times calculation. We already know that, right? So we circle the 4 line and direction location. That opens all the signals, opens all code system locations. Remember, this is all done through vibration. Okay? Let's correlate the high center interference of directions. Okay, as you set position location high center, it opens all high center interference in direction line system. So it modifies high center interference and directions. Okay, we start with that. So we take the 4 and we take the other 4 line center. So we take the atmospheres. Okay, so we take 24 atmosphere line centers in direction, right? So this basically puts all line center interference of direction locations. It puts back in communications, right? It opens all 9 signals, high interference of directions, high communication cycles, and ground line center interference. Ground line interference of direction, right? Correlates high line center fluctuation in position location of direction. Okay? Now it's going to code signal line center to diamond core line rotation. Okay? Open signal locations at 24 circle. 24 line center in position location. Alright? Now that opens all line center to an energy field line rotation. It's calculation. Okay? So we keep the 24 in the center line. Okay? 24 equals 24 line center is 48 location. So we come into the 48 line center. That puts everybody in position location, no longer in 1%. Okay? In track line center interference, it's all about changing your 12 DNAs to high line rotation interference. Now you're in the 5th wave cycle line set locations, but the physical line is now aligned position locations into 2%, no longer in 1% location. All right? So as you go in position locations, you have to learn how to channel to higher levels. Now once you get into that line center, it hides position location of directions. It opens all position location of its high center. So it correlates its system into higher force locations. It channels through in all structure lines in position of direction. Okay? So as you set up signals, you have to truly understand how to use the 24 atmospheres of time, the 24 locations of time, okay, and the 24 atmospheres of time. Okay? See, this is what we're coming in a full cycle line center, how we change all waving system locations to its direction of time switch. This opens up all lines of view through calculation. Alright, so we go into high stream, high center interference, and directions. Now this is going to set up line rotation and calculation. Okay? So when that's set up, the high center, it line streams its position location of the directions, traveling you guys right through your 12 DNA lines into 2% location. Okay? So it's incredible when you actually know how to travel faster and faster to high switch. So the switch line center is no longer in a tube interference. We got an open communication cycle. It's a cyclone line channel. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 line position location of direction. Okay, you guys are going to channel through that. Okay? Now when you channel through that, you're going to know exactly what it feels like to be in that position location. Alright? It's all about uprising line centers. Now for all the new viewers, if we have any position location directions, you're going to learn how to understand how to use the 1% and get out of that line center into higher level locations. Now high channel, high system location is going to be, let's say 20 line signals in interference location atmosphere change its position location of its directions. All right. So if you're at, let's say 5% high center interference location of structure in 12 DNA locations, you're going to be up to 2 line centers up higher. So you'll be in the 7th. If you're at 8, you'll be at 9. If you're at 9, you'll be at 11. If you're 11, you'll be at 13. Indirect line system. It's all about understanding how to high-rise your calculations and how to use the adaptation of the mind. So we're coming into online center locations of 24 line centers, 24 locations, 24 activation light streams in position of direction. Okay? So this is going to channel your line centers to more levels of your DNA. So code signal location to Cruz, squads, units 1 and 2 line centers, GFL line conditions, rebellion. Put the business location send the master communication line center, send your gods. Set the core line center in 24 line rotation interference in direction to high system location line conditions. Open all channels. Yeah, use the metric line center interference. So it's correlation to a system. You circle in its in. Okay, so it's all about understanding how you spectrum lights, perception lights, communication line streams, and rainbow stream interference line condition to its direction. Okay? Now it gets really complicated, right? Because it's working with a different atmospheric change. Okay? So when you're changing positions of time, you're changing correlations of panels. And that changes all line center location of directions. You're always, always, always traveling through a 45 line center. In direct locations, you can high channel its high force line communication system. Okay? So as you're channeling to that line center, you guys are traveling extremely fast in the highest locations. You guys have to know what it's like to actually be more out of your body lines, right? Communication system. To know exactly how to use your 12 DNA in any way sequence, in any way form, to any way position location to your emotional locations. Okay, it's very powerful when you start using more levels of you through prodigal system location. It high channels all levels of you to high center. So as we go into high interference, we change the coloration path. All right, let's go into the purple line rotation. Now the purple line rotation changes the coloration of the grounds, changes the circle interference, it changes the magnetic highway information location, all levels. It puts you in a track location. All right. Okay. It opens all signals in high interference. Line position locations at downline center. Okay. Now it opens on line center interference. Okay. So it's an upside down triangle line center. It's really interesting when you look at these locations to a system. It's very powerful when you high rise your line center interference. So you keep traveling until you understand what's going on through provision, right? It opens all line position location to its directions. So this puts you in a higher line center of a channel. This opens all communication line center interference to its directions, right? Opens line center sonar, high position location of its directions. It's all level connection. Okay? So it's coming into the atmosphere high centers, full complete cycle of 24 location to its position. Now you change the heart line interference to its directions. This channels its position to high levels. This change your pix occupation stream location. That's where we come in full communication of coloration. This high channels its line center rotation to its coloration line interference. It platitude division locations to your line connections. It opens all communication to color. Color is everything through form. So we go through structure lines. We go through levels of graph line centers, laser direction location to its position of time. Okay? That cross signals in position of high center. Really understand how to use the weather locations to its position of time. Okay? It high channels its high line center. You colorate the high center interference location of directions. Knowing exactly what you're doing is all levels of you. This correlates its high center interference to the levels of a new antenna. Okay, so you go into the center operation line stream. Okay, that opens all communication line interference in direction to its position. Okay, so it's all about understanding what you're doing with your calculations, how you point view these things out, how you calculate and modify high interference in direction line streams. So it's all about how you use levels of connections to the structures of the atmosphere line connections or anything you're doing through locations to what you're communicating with in high rotation interference. Okay? So when you get an XT1000 line in position of direction, it comes in all line. Okay, graphs line center, it always comes in and scans position of directions. It's always scanning, right? Scans everything that you do all the time. Scans the center operation line stream. If it's in position location, it sets up another crop circle location to its directions. It tunnels down in position location to a swirl. Okay, that swirl opens up its line center. Now that line center opens up all communication systems. Orbit view communication of triangles and high center interference to circle location to its position of time. Okay, time has line center interference. Meters of time, calculations of time, motivations of time, interference locations of time. Graph interference, so it's like a game. Try to understand the game of you, calculations of you, high centered line centers of you. So you come in a tube line center in rotation interference to a graph line system. Okay? You set a chord line center to a chair, and that chair is basically set position locations of communication line system. Okay? So it seats its position of directions. And that's where you come in to left these signals into alpha wave locations. Delta line, theta, beta, omega, you get the point location. Now we go back in the security line center. We line strip center position direction. Okay, this is getting more complicated now, right? This is all about youth and the matrix interference. Sets up laser grid locations, like a Star Trek line center. Okay? Set in high center interference of direction. Okay? Opens all communications. Now we cross signals. Okay? So it looks like a DNA graph line. See that? See how it sets up position location? Now as you set in line center, you set up another disk line center interference. Now it sets position location in high center. That opens all communication to the more levels of a graph line center rotations. We go back into ground interference. Now the ground interference is now changed. It's no longer in a 24 atmosphere. I got to show you how powerful it is where you can go from a 24 atmosphere to a 48 to 72 144. The point I'm trying to get across here is for you guys to high rise your 12 DNAs. And the only way to do that is to get into your game setting position location through a simulation. All right? Getting into that simulation changes the ground line centers, change position locations online. Okay, so you start with the ground interference. See the ground line center? Now, that's in a 48 window line track. Now 48 window in position location of ground line system. See? 48. It's no longer a 24. So 48 in position location, high rise is faster. Vector communication line centers opens all new ground line center interference to its game line rotation in position location of perception. It channels its high line center to all levels, changes all line center to its game position locations of its computer operation. Alright, so in the center position locations, you can go back into the center, set up a square line center in position location to high line center. Okay, you can overlap sequence and patterns. See how it gets in correlation? Now you can change that position of directions. It's amazing how you can change things in high center interference. Okay, so you can go in one-way direction line system, or you basically can set up another shape line center in a triangulation to force line. See, it comes in a communication system. Now as you come into a high stream interference, you have to go back in the ground line center in position locations. Now you're in a higher level. You're no longer at 48. You're now in 72. See? 72. So 72 line centers, you're into the escape line center where you use your flight navigations 1 to 12. That opens all communication system, right? So you're now more levels of geometry line center of your 12 DNA. Okay, so you're more understanding than what 12 times 12 is 144. But the track line center is position location, is bounce communication. The foundation line stream is 72. So you all about understanding 24 atmospheres, 48 atmospheres, 72, 144 atmospheres. We're in 24 atmospheres of time. We're in 24 time zones. And we're 24 locations into high line center. Okay? So it's all about understanding how to use your track interference, location to its direction, to high center interference to its point location. All right? It high channels you in all levels of division line system. Now the rotation line center comes into all calculations. Now this is where it channels in high center. So 72 to 72 is what? 144. So in that line center, 144 sets in position location directions. Once you get into 144, you high level this channel. This positions its high line center interference of correlation. This channels its security lines, changes the circle line center interference, change position location of directions. It high channels its high line center and high interference and more line center interference location line conditions. See? So now you're no longer at 72, you're now on 144. That changes its line center location to its directions. Okay? So once you get in 144, now you're mocking its high center, high interference of channel to its position of its direction. Alright, so the 144 is changing all levels of security line to its location to its ground system. Okay, so 144 comes into 244. And then 244, 344, 444, 544. It high positions its location to its high line center. It opens all communication to its stream interference. So it high channels its high line. It opens all its communication cycle. High positions its channel lines. Opens all communication light streams into high system. So 144 becomes 244. Then it comes 344. It comes into 444. And it comes into 544. All right, anything 544, you balance your line center into 644. 644 is the balance line system location to its position of dyne line. Okay, that's why I want you guys to stay in the track line center, to stay in high vibration of 644. See the number sequence location to its position, how you change line centers, how you change locations on levels, shapes, letters, and numbers and symbols, how it allocates time switch interference to its position of direction. Gets complicated now, right? That's what's happening right now. So once you get into 644, you find your balance. You go back into security line. It opens all communication line system right into the center operation. See? Then you stay at 644, and then you can high rise. You can change a ground line center into higher levels of flux capacitor, high position location of direction. Right? High rise, a high line center, flywheel interference, no longer in 24, no longer in 48, no longer in 72, no longer in 144. You're in 644. Right? That's what it is, balancing 644. That's just your clocking system, but there's 644 atmospheres. There's 644 time zones. There's 644 locations, guys. This is why it's all set position locations into all levels from calculation to calculation to calculation, right? Once you come into that division line center, it opens all communications, 24, 48, 72, 144. Puts you in a better communication to your computer adaptation system. This opens all line center, so it's important to stay in the 644 to its location to its system, right? So you guys are just getting used to your clockings. You got to get balanced with the ground line center locations. So once you get in that positions, then you can high rise, high interference, change electrical light connections, and then travel through it to all position, location, and directions, into letters, numbers, and shapes and symbols simultaneously, all in one direction location, right? Hoo-ah. Powerful stuff when you know what you're doing. So there's a lot to look at in that location line center. Okay? It's extremely amazing when you understand position, location, how you come into levels of shapes, letters, numbers, and symbols from 24, 48, 72, 144, and above. That's why I want you guys to stay in the line center, 644, just in the clocking system. Once you get into that, you get into 644 time zones and 644 locations. Okay? That's how you get into time capacitor. The acceleration will change the timelines. It'll change your position location to its directions. It will set your signals into more thought lines and put you back into all levels of your balance line center to your connections, to your manifestations of creation. All right? So, I hope you enjoyed class. Sorry I didn't get set up earlier, but in position directions, the atmosphere changes over and over and over and over, right? So, anyway, it's a good thing I got my phone. You know, my phone doesn't connect to line interference. I communicate with the computer interference line connection of directions. Questions or comments. I may or may not be on Zoom today at 12. It's up to you what you guys want to do. You guys have a wonderful day. I'll talk to you soon. Adios.